The issue with Eddie Abbew is that he says one thing and then he completely contradicts himself later on. And this is one of the things that happen when you keep talking your mind and you keep going on rants excessively on social media. Now, this is not an attack on Eddie Abbew, but this is more about my issue with fear mongering, especially with diet and in the health industry. Um, the first thing I want to point out is that Eddie Abbew used to say that sourdough bread, and you can watch the videos, you can watch his old videos from like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. He would be, I even watched a video of him with Eddie Hall, the former professional strongman, and they were going around Tesco and they were going around reviewing what Eddie Hall usually eats and what Eddie Abbew would recommend, and them just having a laugh as well. And they both stopped at sourdough bread and they both agreed that sourdough bread is good. Yeah. Um, so sourdough bread, first of all, is good for you if you're looking for carb source. But Eddie Abbew has now gone and said that, stop falling for that trap. I watched the YouTube short of him saying that you need to stop falling for the trap of eating carbs. Essentially, all he's saying is if you're not eating eggs or meat, then you're killing yourself and you're affecting your health. And this is a type of fear mongering because that's just completely not true. There are people with different lifestyles. There are people with different bodies, with different genetics, with different needs for different types of foods. And I think Eddie Abbew needs to open his mind as well as to why people need or eat certain foods or do certain things for certain reasons. I also will definitely say that yes, I do agree with a lot of the things that he does say, and we're gonna go one by one and break this down. And really, I'm gonna really talk my honest opinion of Eddie Abbew and a lot of these other fearmongers as well in general. So firstly, yeah, going back to me talking about him and his issue with carbs. So I watched the YouTube short of his today. I think it was probably uploaded today or very recently, and he's gone around Tesco. And you know what? I might do a reaction video, either separately or I'll attach it to this video as well. All right, guys. So this is the video I was on about. This is the recent video of him talking about sourdough bread. We're gonna compare it to what he was saying about sourdough bread before.
Stop eating bread, sourdough bread. Guys, stop falling for this shit. Bread is just sugar. It doesn't matter whether it's fucking fermented, sourdough, whatever it is. It's still fucking bread. Fucking old case. I remember.
So you hear that, guys? You can't make this up. He's talking about sourdough bread being bad now, but a year and a half ago, this guy was saying that you can have sourdough bread. It's one of the few good carb sources according to him. Okay, so I found the video of him with Eddie Hall, former professional strongman, sorry, and they're talking about bread. And yeah, I don't know when this video was made, but it was about a year or 2 years ago. And yeah, you can hear the conversation yourself and then you can tell me.
What kind of carbs do you normally eat?
So carbs for me would be sourdough.
Sourdough, perfect. That's
Sourdough, I like sourdough.
It's fermented, isn't
Sourdough, perfect. It's fermented, isn't it? You can find fermented sourdough as well. And this is the thing. But now, apparently sourdough is bad for you as well. Then he's gone around saying Manuka honey is, clearly not good for you apparently as well. Okay. So, this firstly is not an attack on Eddie Abbew, but this is more about how I feel watching his videos come up, because I do actually follow his content quite a bit as well. I find him interesting to see what he thinks about certain food products, but as you keep watching on of his videos, and you'll start seeing these contradictions, hence why I've made this video, because I want to help advise people as well. I do think he's a fearmonger, because I can sit here and be caring about other people's diets and health like I genuinely am in my everyday life. I mean, going to an extent as saying that eating this and this will kill you. Yeah, obviously, if you're gonna eat unhealthy foods every day and you're that type of person who eats unhealthy and that's a staple in your diet, then yeah, it's gonna kill you in some way eventually. I agree with that. But then going around saying, holding a bag of bread or holding oats, even if they're organic oats now apparently, sourdough bread, white rice, which is a staple in many countries and cuisines. And he's saying that stop eating this, to stop falling for the trap. It's gonna kill you. That is a type of fear mongering, and that's something that I can't sit here and just watch. So that's that. One of the things I do agree with that he says is, to eat eggs, to eat more eggs if you're not eating them, and to eat meat. I completely understand and I completely agree that, anyone's diet which consists of meat, especially fatty meat and eggs, and you eat that, as the main portion of your protein throughout every day, then yeah, you're going to be a lot healthier than the average person. Yeah, I completely agree. And that's something that I do myself. I eat eggs and I eat meat as well. Red meat, fatty meat, chicken, whatever it is, as long as there's clean meat and it's, and you're eating eggs, you're going to do a lot better than the average person. But it's more about the fact that he will say one thing, and then he'll say completely the opposite a year and a half later, 2 years later. If your words are so grounded and they're so true, how come you go and do a whole U-turn and say the opposite? You said if you're gonna eat oats, don't go for like the processed ones. Okay, fine, I completely understand that. Go for the organic ones or the jumbo oats or the steel cut. And now you're saying just don't eat oats. And you said the same thing for sourdough bread, and now you're saying don't eat sourdough bread. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but I guess it is what it is. And as a Muslim as well, and as being a religious person, as being a Muslim who follows his faith, we are taught, especially in Islam as well, that there are certain foods which are encouraged. Dates are a sunnah food. What's dates? Dates is a fruit. Yeah. Eddie Abbew also tells you not to eat fruit. He says that your body treats it as sugar. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to your body using it as sugar in a minute. Now he's saying he's basically he would go against dates then he went against manuka honey, and honey is another food encouraged in our religion. So when the greatest man to walk on the earth, who is the messenger of God who created all of these foods, who created all of these real foods, and who created the earth and mankind and everything, the messenger of God, when he encourages honey, and then you've got a former pro bodybuilder who's injected steroids and stuff, not that this is going to be an attack on that, but he's put a lot worse in his body, now saying that honey, don't fall for that trap. Like, this is fear mongering at its finest, and this is what a lot of these fear mongers do. Now, getting on to your body treating as sugar. Fruit, the sugar in fruit is good for you. I think the issue that Eddie Abbew seems to have, the issue that I feel like Eddie Abbew has failed to notice in his own views and opinions and his own measures, and what the common thing is with people, is that he's targeting the whole population. He's targeting everyone, and I understand that because he wants everyone to be healthy. I completely get that, but the problem is he's also saying to avoid carbs. Maybe him avoiding carbs for his body is great. He's in his 60s. He's not really. I doubt he's training twice a day. You've got a lot of athletes who need carbs for fuel because they need carbs for energy. If you're going to be training 2-3 times a day, if you're an athlete, if you're a combat sports athlete, which is what I do, and let's say you manage to do twice a day training with little to no carbs. Let's say you manage it. Imagine how much better you'd be with carbs. That's a fact. Yeah. Or maybe not. Maybe you're just fine without carbs and you're happy with it. Fair enough. That's probably your body. You probably might be very similar to Eddie Abbew's. You probably don't need carbs, and you can do well on a high fat, high protein diet. Okay, cool. But to say that everyone needs to stay away from carbs is crazy. Now here's the thing that I wanted to point out. Here's what he fails to notice. He's targeting the whole population, but if we look at the people who he's actually targeting, the people who actually need his advice, let's just have a look at their lifestyle. So the average person has a pretty unhealthy lifestyle. They probably eat too much carbs. They also eat, let's say like he was going. So Eddie Abbew, let's use an example. Eddie Abbew was talking about white rice and avoiding white rice because your body treats that as sugar. We can use any carb source. We can really use any food that really isn't that bad that he calls as bad. So we're going to use white rice. So let's say the average unhealthy person in England, in the UK, who eats white rice, but he also eats a lot of chocolate, he also eats a lot of sweets, he also starts his breakfast with a lot of sugar, refined sugar, so pancakes, donuts, whatever, a lot of like sugary cereal, let's just say, and he sprinkles extra sugar on top, let's just say, right? And he eats his eggs, and he also eats his meat, and he also eats white rice. So now Eddie Abbew looks at that person and he's saying, all of these foods that you're eating is why you're fat, which is true, but he's also eating too much white rice, and he's also eating too much chocolate and too much sweets. Now if you look at an athlete, let's say someone who trains twice a day, and his diet, let's just say the average athlete who has one cheat meal a week, he eats white rice as a carb source, he eats eggs and he eats meat. For him, the white rice is used as well, is used good because he uses it for fuel. He's not sat around like the first person. He's not sat around on the sofa all day and lazy and doesn't train. That person trains. So his body is using that fuel, is using that carb for good. But someone who doesn't train, he doesn't work out, he doesn't exercise at all, and he just eats and he overindulges in eating, you're going to look at the white rice and it's going to be very easy to say you need to avoid eating that. Yeah? So the issue here, what I'm trying to say, isn't what you're eating as such, because an athlete who trains 3 times a day, let's say 3 times a day, he's super fit. Yeah, he trains in the morning, afternoon and evening, let's just say, like a professional athlete. If he eats just one crisp, is that going to affect his performance by a lot? Is that going to hinder his diet, his physique, his performance considerably? No, it's not. He's not going to look fat at all. Yeah. But the issue isn't that people eat just one crisp. They'll eat the whole packet, and then they'll eat, let's say if they're feeling cheeky, they'll eat another packet, and then next thing you know, they'll probably eat 3 packets in one go of crisps, or sweets, chocolate, whatever you want to call it. That's what makes people unhealthy. It's not just eating one little crisp. So if that guy also eats just one crisp, are you going to say that he's unhealthy? No, because he just had like a little amount. So the point I'm trying to make it's not entirely what you're eating, the way Eddie Abbew likes to point it out as. It's more about how much of it you're eating and what else are you doing. Like, yeah, if you're just going to sit around, be a bum and never train, never exercise, never go out, or do it as much as you need to be doing, and you're just overindulging and always eating, and you eat a lot, and you eat a lot of processed foods, and you have lettuce and you have eggs and meat, is the eggs and meat really going to do anything to your physique? No, it's not. Because you're eating too much bad for the good to even outweigh. So you're going to be fat, and then Eddie Abbew is going to point at you saying you need to stop eating white rice, you need to stop eating oats and sourdough bread and manuka honey. Like, that's the problem. So I think the issue here is that, first of all, the best thing to always do is just to try it yourself and just see how it works out for you. So for me, for example, I need to eat carbs because I'm very active, and I love carbs as well, and my body's okay with it. Like, alhamdulillah, I've got great genetics, so I don't need to worry about. I could eat a whole big pack of crisps, and it's not going to affect my physique at all. You're not even going to be able to tell. Like, I've had unhealthy periods, briefly, I'd say like a couple of years ago, and you look at me and you wouldn't think I'm fat. Like, I've never been fat a day in my life. So, but for someone else, they could have half the amount of junk food I've had, and then they'll look a lot fatter, just because that's how the body composition is, how God made our body composition. So if you was to ask Eddie Abbew now, would he say that everyone's body's built the same way? No, anyone would be dumb to say that everyone's built and everyone's genetics are the same. So why would you advise everyone to eat the same and to avoid the same things? Like, to an extent, of course, you shouldn't be, like, everyone knows the general thing is not to overindulge in sweets and chocolate and crisps. The problem is the ones who are fat usually do. Would you recommend the first thing for a fat person to help with their fat loss journey to be eating dark chocolate, or to be eating more, healthy foods such as eggs and, probably doing fasting and that? There you go then. But if an athlete picks up a pack of dark chocolate, you're not going to tell him no, because he'll probably eat a bit of it and then he'll be good. It's not going to affect his performance as much. It might even be his cheat day. So that's my opinion. I hope that makes sense. Essentially, people's bodies are different, and for many people who are, especially if they're active and athletes, carbs is great. The problem here is that there may be people who get swayed by what Eddie Abbew's saying and be thinking, because let's say someone like me, for example, I've tried cutting out carbs and it just wasn't it for me, because I'd feel less energetic. So I'd be having I'd have a very nice, structured, kind of like diet, and then I'd be watching a video of Eddie Abbew, and he's already telling me to cut this out, and I thought I was doing good. So then I started cutting it out because I was fearmongered, and then I realised my performance is getting hindered. So that's what happened. It got affected because I got swayed. But it's also good to try out different things, try out keto, try out whatever. If you really want to find out more about yourself, try it out. Like, try out cutting out carbs and see how it works. If it's great for you, then do it. But to be fear-mongering and going around saying, you can't eat that, manuka honey's bad for you, don't eat, fruits. Like, like to tell everyone to only eat eggs and meat, it's kind of crazy. But there's truth in what he says, because he's obviously been in the health industry for years, longer than I've been alive. But facts are also facts. I think there's a lot of truth in what he says, but there's also a lot of falsehood as well, and these needed to be addressed, because you don't want to sway people's minds thinking that you're actually doing them justice without doing enough research, or just having an open mind as well. You need to have a bit of open-mindedness here. Like, I'm never going to tell you that crisps are fine. I mean, crisps are good for you, or chocolate's good for you. But You know, to go around saying that everything is bad for you is kind of crazy. But yeah, that's my opinions. And yeah, it's not an attack on Eddie Abbew or fearmongers in general. It's more of a counteract argument. But yeah.